we embraced last year being the team that teams did not want to play. And I think that's a goal of ours again this year, is just to kind of to be that that team that brings some chaos to the field.
And I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top. Keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. The good life. Good life. Oh, good life. Good life. Good life. Good life.
Boom! Coming in hot, Chinchy. What's going on, man? Down here at Brewers camp.
Yeah, dude, you're not alone. By the way, I did a little math. I looked up you and this person. You guys are almost exactly the same size. Did you know that? Who we have on right now?
Well, he looks a lot bigger than me now, dude. I'm like getting old, like I'm shrinking. I was just walking next to him. But dude, this guy, man, one of the best power hitters in the game. 6 years in Phillies, this is his second year in Milwaukee. 26 bombs last year. RBI machine, absolute one of the best first basemen in the game. Rhys Hoskins. Rhys, what's up, dude?
Thanks, man.
Dude,
Appreciate you having
thank you
me
for joining
on.
us, man.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you.
always.
First off, before we get going to the baseball stuff, and I think this is a baseball question, because I know for me, dude, when I had my first kid, a lot of things changed perspective-wise on the field. You had your first daughter this offseason, dude, or your first kid. It was a daughter. Dude,
Yep.
tell me about that, man. How's it going, and how you sleeping?
we're sleeping most nights, some nights not, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's been such a blessing. I think you kind of hit it on the head, right? Like, it just gives you a different perspective while you're at home, while you're away from home. And I've heard from multiple players or ex-players, coaches, just people that are in the game about what it's like, having a child while you're in the game. It just gives you a new perspective, right? It kind of lets you leave work, so to say, at work, and you get to enjoy time at home. And I think that kind of gives you a clearer head when you come back the next day. So, that's what we're always after, I think, is trying to be that same guy every single day. So, I'm excited to see what that new perspective is like. I keep saying it's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the happiest I've ever been. So I'm just excited to watch her grow and, just to soak up every moment that we have.
What has been the greatest part about being a dad so far, and what's been the toughest?
Yeah, the toughest, right, is that you feel like you have something figured out about what she needs or how things are going, and then it immediately changes.
And then the cry becomes different. You go, I've never heard that cry before.
Yeah. Which I feel like is a pretty good precursor just for parenthood in general.
It is.
The best, I think, so far is just watching her figure things out. Like, she's really starting to just become so much more aware of her surroundings. She's given us some giggles and some smiles. So just like learning how to grab things. So just like, watching her figure things out has been just really, really cool so far.
It's so great, dude. Congrats.
Yeah,
Congrats. Because I know for me, man, when I had my first kid, it just changed everything. Because like you come home after a game, maybe 0 for 4, a couple punchies, and you just hey, sometimes in this game it's a very stressful, and there's a lot of anxiety at times that you go home and but having a kid, sometimes they're like, oh, you got to leave it at the field. When you start having kids, you're able to leave it at the field a lot easier than if you're just you don't have a kid.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but dude, your first year in Milwaukee last year, you hit 26 pumps, almost drove in 100 RBIs. You guys went to the postseason, just missed getting past that division round. It seems like Yelly's back healthy this spring. You're having a great spring so far. What's the feels right now going on in spring training for the Brewers?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of did what the Brewers do last year, right? Super overlooked, I think, at the beginning of the year. And that's not to do with anything that we were or weren't doing. I just, we're the small market team that figures out ways to win. And a lot of other teams in our division specifically were, going out and making big time moves in the off season. But we play good baseball. We put pressure on teams, and I think what's cool about our group this year is we definitely lost a few really big key players. But we have a lot of the same team back. A lot of young guys that are only getting more confident.
Yeah.
They're learning the game more. They're learning what it's like to play a 162 game set. So I'm stoked for those guys to continue to take a step forward. And the reality is too, we didn't have a couple key pieces last year with Yelly being hurt.
Yeah.
Woody will hopefully find himself again this year, and that's going to be just a huge piece on the mound. So, we went through some adversity, which you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, the heartbreak at the end of the season, but I'm a firm believer that you find yourself in those moments again and again. That heartbreak can turn into a lot of success going forward. So I'm stoked for us. We got kind of the underdog mentality, but we embrace that, and we're just excited.
When I look at you guys, and I look top to bottom at the lineup, and even guys on the bump, like it just seems like this is a team that has the personality of Pat Murphy. Just like the grinder mentality. Let's win every pitch.
For sure.
And let's do it for 162. And like you said, the young guys have to learn to play 162. Can you just talk about, Murph and the attitude that he brings to you guys every day? What's it like playing for him?
Yeah, I mean, Murph's a wild card, right? That's like such a great thing to have in your manager's office, because he has this innate way of, keeping things light and allowing us to be ourselves, which I think, translates to some pretty good product on the field, but also knows exactly when to kind of kick you in the butt. And it just, I think, like I said, it allows us to be ourselves. He's like, he spent so much time coaching college baseball, just a baseball lifer, and you can tell he lives, breathes the game. And he kind of instilled in us at an early stage last spring, like, hey, let's do what we can to win tonight.
Yeah, I like that.
We do what we can to win tonight, right? Like, obviously, this is we have a long-term goal, right, to get to the postseason and then have a chance to win a World Series. But you can't do that with your eyes set on tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
he instilled that in us pretty quickly last year, coming in as a first-year manager. And he manages like that, and that's easy to play for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you said, kind of a grinder mentality. Christian Yelich kind of has dubbed us kind of the average Joes.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a pretty good fit, right?
Yeah.
Like a bunch of just ball players that maybe you never heard of, but pretty good product as a team going forward.
Man, there's no doubt. I love that. The average Joes. That's so good. That's so good. One of the guys in that locker room that really took it to another level, elevated probably a little bit before the second half last year, was Jackson Cheerio, who's turning 21 today.
Crazy.
You remember being 21?
Crazy.
Seems
I
like
wouldn't be ready for the big leagues.
I mean, either, dude. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was just in Watertown, New York. I was scared of my own shadow. I can't imagine being in the big leagues at 20. What impresses you about him? You've been around a lot of great players, dude. You've been around some of the best players to ever play this game. What impresses you about him at such a young age?
Well, I think just his commitment to making adjustments and trying to get better every day. He came into the big leagues with all the spotlight on him. Right here he has this young kid, nice contract, a lot of expectations, and he kind of got hit in the face the first couple months of his career. But he kept his head down, kept working. Really leaned on some of our older guys that had success in the big leagues, and found himself just making adjustments. And I think you saw that in the second half, right? Like, he just turned into such a force. And I think because of that work that he put in, you could see just like his confidence stepping up to the plate every night just continue to grow. Whereas I think, towards the end of the year and even in the playoffs, like teams did not want to face him.
Yeah,
and
he was a problem.
He kind of started to realize that.
Yeah.
And use that to his advantage, which, I mean, as a hitter, right? Like, that is such an awesome place to be at the plate.
So great.
He's always having fun, but he's a super confident kid, and that's usually a pretty good combo.
That's a great combo. Yeah, that's a great combo. What about for you, brother? Like, as your career goes on, like at spring training 2025, like for your swing, always looking for those feels. It's like you got a pretty good feel right now.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now?
Yeah, I think, last year coming back from the injury, there was a lot of just like feeling out, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, where is my body? Where are my legs? And we're master compensators as athletes and especially as baseball players.
Yes.
So regardless of what we got, we tend to figure it out, even if it's just subconsciously. So I got into some bad habits throughout the year, just not really knowing where I was with my legs, but having a full off season, this past year, just really being able to hit some of the training pretty hard and getting back to, feeling more like my normal self. I'm just trying to become more repeatable.
Yeah.
So I'm not coming to the ballpark every night trying to
Figure it out
where I'm at,
Yes.
Yeah. So a couple smaller moves, right? Like I've always hit with a little bit of a leg kick. Just trying to make that a little bit smaller. I think smaller moves means my head moves less.
Yeah.
My head moves less means see the ball better.
Yeah.
So, so far so good in spring. Like it's nice to definitely get some good results after, being in the cage, grinding away in the off season, trying to figure out these little tweaks.
Yeah.
Give you some confidence going forward. So just try to keep those feels,
Yeah.
find a nice routine, and then just kind of let the talent take over from there.
Love that, man. Feels, routines. I mean, routines are obviously so important
Yep.
for this crazy game, 162,
Yeah,
spring training and everything like that. Mentally at the plate.
yeah.
When Rhys Hoskins is locked in,
Yep.
what's the thought process?
Honestly, there's not a ton, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
you have that clear head. You're convicted in the work that you've done pregame. You just know that you're getting into a good position to fire off my swing. But I think it just gives me a chance to see the ball. I'm definitely a guy that relies on his eyes,
Yeah.
right? Making some good swing decisions. Deciphering that strike to ball, getting into good counts. And then punishing pitches that end up over the heart of the plate. So feels like I try to be on time for the heater, but knowing that I can trust my eyes to fire on anything that ends up kind of in that middle of the plate is usually when Rhys Hoskins does pretty well.
I love that, man. Are you aiming right center? Are you aiming dead center? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the middle of the field, right? Like that's so cliche, but
But it works.
it just keeps you on everything, right? Like if I can hit the fastball to the middle of the field, whether that's to dead center or to right center, I think that gives me the ability to kind of hit a little bit off time with some of the great stuff in this game, and take some of that off speed stuff, to the pull side. So, like I've learned as I've gone along that you can't cover everything.
Right, exactly.
You can't
Especially
cover
nowadays.
everything.
Yeah.
But I think, if you commit to that, you're convicted in that, you end up not missing pitches in places that you're looking.
Please, that is exactly what Chipper Jones told us he tells guys last week, if you remember. That is the exact same paragraph he gave us. So you're in good company with that.
Well, that's great to hear. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. But Case just said, right, like this stuff is so good now. Like even from my time
What's
as a
been the
rookie,
difference?
right?
Yeah,
Like,
Has it changed that
oh
much?
my gosh.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
So what's changed?
Obviously the velocity, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
You see that night in and night out. But even, every starter now is 94, 95 plus.
A max effort.
Max effort guy, 3+ pitches. And then, even, maybe you put it on a starter and you get into the bullpen early in a game. Well, here comes
Here comes the 100.
you've got teams that their non-leverage arms are still guys with 97, 98 and a wipeout slider. So there's no break really anymore, right? It kind of used to be that maybe you get into a bullpen in a 4-game series early on, like you got a chance to see some of those quote innings eaters, right? Just to save their bullpen.
Yeah. They don't exist?
Those guys don't exist anymore. Those guys are 95, 96 with 3+ pitches too. So, man, it's hard to cover everything.
Yeah. It seems like the pitch shaping's so different.
For sure.
Everyone, you usually, back in the day, or even when you were coming in if a guy had a sinker, he didn't have a cutter.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
If a guy had a good four-seamer, he didn't have a sinker. Or
And
whatever.
it's like obviously a testament to the pitching side. They figured out ways, to make life harder on hitters.
Yeah.
But you just have to continually make decisions on pitch direction, sides of the plate. Guys have a couple different sliders, right? And obviously, the more the velocity is, the less time you have. So, it's not an easy thing to be a hitter right now in this league, but we sickos love the challenge.
I love it, dude. It's like, I know. It's that you got to be a little sick to play this game. I really believe. I think, and you'll see one of these days when you retire, bro. The sickness leaves you a little bit. Like I can't imagine getting in a box right now. But back when I was your age, I'm like,
can't wait.
I just wanted to rip somebody's head off. I couldn't wait to get out. I couldn't wait for the failure sometimes.
For sure.
That way.
For sure.
Last question for you. For coming into this season, what's the expectations in that clubhouse for the 2025 Brewers?
Yeah, Murph. Every team comes in. Usually, the manager gives a talk at the beginning of camp, and it's usually something about some new mantra or new focus for this year. But Murph kind of said, look, we had a pretty good game plan last year. Like, it doesn't mean that we have to exactly, try to replicate what we did last year. Every season is different, but I think the process that we had last year was so great. Having an underdog role, continuing to put pressure on teams. That's obviously on the mound, in the box, but also on the base pass, catching the ball, just playing some really clean baseball. We embraced last year being the team that teams did not want to play. And I think that's a goal of ours again this year, is just to be that team that brings some chaos to the field. I think we're being overlooked. A lot of teams in our division made some nice moves to get better. And that's only great for competition. But, with the group of guys that I think we have, some of the continuity that we have coming from last year too, we're confident that we're going to vie for this division again. Hopefully get into the playoffs. And I've learned, once you're in the tournament at the end of the year,
it's anything
can happen. So getting there is definitely step number one. But after that, just continuing to play our game and hopefully make more noise there.
Man, I love it, dude. I love it. Glad to be down here with you guys in camp, but good luck to you guys this year. Seems like you guys got a really good team, and you're going to make some noise again. But on the other side, dude, good luck as a dad, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It'll be the greatest thing you'll ever do in your life. You realize how selfish you are when you have a kid like, God, I've been selfish my whole life. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the cool thing, right? It's not about food.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah. You got to change that diaper at 2 in the morning. You got to try to rock him to bed. You know what I mean? Diaper dad.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you.